There's a sacredness to this corner of the land, one that transcends the old ferry landing and the dark beauty of Eagle Harbor. It's enshrined by 227 innocent men, women, and children uprooted and shipped away 60 years ago today to this very hour. 227 men, women, and children who lost their innocence 60 years ago. We've heard the stories of Japanese-American internment. We know of the families ripped apart and the unspeakable suffering. But at times it feels like a ghost so many decades ago, as though time waters down the anger and the injustice. Well, time shouldn't. If anything, as the years roll into decades, we resolve to never forget. We resolve to right history's wrongs by shining a light on the injustices of the past. I simply cannot imagine how a people, community, overcome such an intense sense of betrayal, of separation, of loss. Yet the Japanese-American community arose. Japanese Americans believed in the essential goodness and promise of America, freedom, hope, and opportunity. Even though their parents and siblings were behind barbed wire concentration camps with armed guards with machine guns, Japanese American men, teenagers, fought in World War II, even though at home they lived amidst segregation and prejudice. This summer, I hope that families will pause and gather here to teach their children about the shame of Japanese American internment. In fact, I don't like the word internment. It's Japanese American imprisonment. Today, 60 years ago to the hour, let's resolve to never again repeat the injustices of the past. Let us learn the lessons and make sure we protect all Americans.
I'm asked sometimes, are the Japanese Americans bitter about this? And I can only say what I've observed. Yes, maybe some people are. But in those days, the Issei generation taught us and lived by the philosophy of shikata ga nai, which means it can't be helped. Don't dwell on it. Go on with things, make the best of things. And gaman, which means endure. Look within yourself for inner strength. Don't blame other people for your station in life. And bitterness was not one of the things that was acceptable, because you were blaming other people for your station in life. But with that philosophy, it also came real easy for us to internalize, to feel that we were not worthy people, to feel that we were less than everybody else. And that is a legacy that we've had to overcome. We not only lost 3.5 years of our life, but we lost 30 to 40 years of our life. With the Issei trying to build something for their children, a future for them. 2/3 of us are American citizens. The other third probably would have been if they could have been, but by law, they could not become naturalized citizens of the United States. And after 40 years in the United States, they truly were Americans. They saw this place as their home, the place where their children's future lie. Can we make choices as a people to overcome our fears over safety and to listen and to get truly to know one another? Can we take that risk? Abe Lincoln said, I don't like that man. I'll have to get to know him better. So why is this memorial so important? Will it be healing to some of us? Yes. Is it to embarrass our government or make people feel guilty or ashamed? Of course not. That doesn't make sense. The reason we went to concentration camp is because we were thought of as a collective. We looked like the enemy. And why should that happen to anybody? Why should we do that to the government or to anybody else?
A lot of the adults didn't want to talk about it. They said we were angry young men. They thought that we were trying to force them to do something. And when you think back at the things they went through as adults or young teenagers, you became to realize that this experience was so painful for them that they didn't really want to revisit it. I mean, it just hurt. They didn't want to have to go through the same experiences that they had gone through before to feel that pain again. And not only that, but what would our community think of us if we brought up these events that we thought of as not being very nice, the things that people did that we thought weren't right? What would the general population, the general majority of people think about us by bringing back these unpleasant memories? We've struggled for coming back from concentration camp. We've struggled, and we're now back on our feet. We had to start all over again. Do we want to risk all that again to have something happen that happened to us before?
I don't know why it took so long. I think that for a long time we didn't want to talk about anything like this. We were so busy trying to get our life together and get going, make a living and everything. So all this didn't really start till about in the 1980s.
So there was a lot of resistance to doing that. And I think as we got older, the climate changed some, where you could talk about it a little bit more. Became more apparent that if we really wanted to help our kids, we had to do something. It became more apparent that we're going to die, that we're not going to be around to tell the story. And that's when it became more important. And as soon as a few people took that risk and that step to talk about it, then it became easier for other people to do it. Although we still have people in the community who refuse to be interviewed and refuse to be to talk about it because they say, we're always misquoted. People always say, don't say the right thing what we say, and people take things the wrong way. And people say that. Sometimes they say, I don't want to talk about it. It just hurts too much. If you look at the real world, the groups and the teams that do the best are the ones that have diversity in them. Even in business or even with basketball teams, you don't have all Michael Jordans on one team. You have to have somebody who does things to make everything fit in. And then if you get enough diverse people with their talents together, that's when you accomplish something. And I think a lot of times we don't do justice to our school kids because we tell them, you're not very good at that, you better work harder at that. And it may be more important that we say to them, boy, you're really good at that. That's what you ought to work on. And if you're really good at that, you're going to get together with someone else that's really good at something else, and you're going to make a wonderful team.
America, God shed His grace on thee.
America the Beautiful is, it is our country. It's where we're at. We're Americans, and sometimes, even after 5 generations of living in the island, living in America, people sometimes are still wondering where you learned to speak English so well, or where you're from. And I don't see very many people running up to Scandinavians and asking them where they're from. That we do realize that America is a very special place. And the reason that it is a very special place is because we're from so many different places, and that we could care for each other and see those kind of things as pluses. And when that does happen, it is America the Beautiful.